All right, good evening, guys. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Wednesday evening. We are midway through the week, guys, and we're getting along. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far, getting through whatever it is that you need to get through. And I know it's midweek. The weekend is almost here. I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes to say hi to some people who are joining. Hi, Miss Dreamer. Smiley Dad. Happy Wednesday, Tanya, Tamar, and Dreamer. Again, hi, everyone. I like to wait a few minutes just because there's a lag time. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Pia Leah. Hi, Mrs. E. How are you? Julie, it's good to have you guys here. And we'll just wait a couple more minutes here for people to join in. Hi, Karen Johnson. Hi, Ray. What's going on, man? Karen, Leah, Raquel. Hi there. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Leah. Leah Rubens. Chicago. Chicago's in the house. Chicago is in the house. Hi, Sophia. Hola. And Margaret. Raquel. Ann. How is everybody's Wednesday so far? Is it going good? Is the week going good? Hopefully you guys are feeling empowered this week. In whatever stage you are in healing and recovering and understanding. It's just Wednesdays, I know it's kind of that middle part of the week where things can kind of collect in the center of the week. But you guys are here, so that's good. It's a couple minutes after, so we will go ahead and get started with tonight's program. I want to thank you guys for joining me here on the Royal We Live. For those of you guys who are new to the Royal We Live on YouTube, you're welcome to call in at any time. The telephone number is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And I want to remind you that you are on YouTube Live. So please filter your words. You're welcome to stay and remain anonymous throughout the phone call. You don't have to use your real name. You don't have to use anybody's name. If you prefer to remain anonymous about the entire situation, that is completely up to you. The good thing about being able to call in live is it offers you an opportunity to articulate things that are going on in your life and the ways in which you're healing. You can articulate questions if you're stuck, if you're confused, if you find yourself going back into an abusive situation, or if you're just having a hard time getting out of it. It helps you to articulate it by making that phone call and talking about it with me. The other good thing about being able to call is that you are also helping not only yourself, but you're helping other people, because as a community, people are listening to your questions and something's going to resonate with them. And so deep down, if you have the heart to want to help people, this is a big part of helping people, is just being open and being honest and communicating what's going on, communicating your questions. All right. So that's what I have to say about calling and how important it is to be able to call in and to be able to talk about what it is that's going on. Now, being that this is the Royal We Live, there is a chat. You'll see the chat that's going on in the on the side of the screen, and typically I do put the chat up on the main screen. So I'll go ahead and throw it up here now, because there are different different conversations going on in the chat. What I have been doing is having moderators, and so I want to go ahead and introduce the moderators right now. And I don't believe that our moderator tonight is going to be with us, and it's for Justice and Truth, and she's going to be out for tonight. But I am in the process of looking for more moderators currently. So if you've been with the Royal We, the criteria is that you have been following the Royal We for at least 3 or 4 months, and that you have been no contact from the abusive situation for at least 6 months. And so if this is you, then go ahead and contact me and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about your understanding of the abuse you experienced and where you are right now. And if you resonate, if it resonates what the Royal We's message is and how it's working out for you, and we'll chat about it. So I'm in the process of talking to people about finding some moderators for the chats that take place. Okay, guys? And before we get into talking about any phone calls, taking phone calls and talking about questions, I do want to put the warning out there. We are going to be talking about abuse. So This is 18 plus content. Viewer discretion is advised because we are going to be talking about issues that have to do with possible domestic violence. We may be talking about some sexually explicit information and concepts as it pertains to abusive relationships. So I always put this warning out there, guys, just so that you know that it should be 18 plus content. Viewer discretion is advised. All right. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put the telephone number back up there. The phone line is open. You're welcome to contact at any time, like I said. And if there's, in the meantime, while we're waiting for somebody to go ahead and make that, well, here's a phone call right here. All right. Thank you for calling. You're live on the Royal We.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. Well, I guess you've heard this so many times. I strongly believe that I am a narcissist because my ex-husband has now just been engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And he always told me, when we were together, if we were to separate, nobody will want you. I am going to be with somebody. I'm going to be remarried, and no one will ever want you. There's something just wrong with you.
This is what your ex-husband has told you?
Yes, I had always have reactions to him when he would bully me. I left him because I broke my toe, and he pointed. He would not help me lift our rabbit's cage because when we got the rabbit, I promised him he would never have to help cleaning the cage, nothing.
Right.
I would take care of everything, but I broke my toe. Just please, can you lift the cage? And I will slide the towel underneath. I will clean the cage. No, I'm not. You promised me. This was finally something I could point at him. No.
Right.
But I always strongly react to him.
Well, that's fine. Let me tell you, first of all, that one of the tactics of abusive narcissists is to put you down and demean you and just trample your esteem by using very difficult and hard to take in crushing comments and crushing phrases such as nobody's going to want to be with you, right? So this is actually a sign that you are not the narcissist, but you were with an abusive narcissist who would throw things out of his mouth without even caring about how it might affect you. Okay?
Right. He would always throw things out of his mouth, and I would strongly react and
they do.
And then apologize. I'm so sorry that I have done this. You're right. I should not have reacted that way.
Right. But and understand this too, that a lot of the times you should not even be put in the situation that you are in to be able to react how you did. So if your husband is saying something to you like nobody's going to want to be with you ever, and you have this knee-jerk reaction to defend yourself, it's quite normal, right? Because that's a very demeaning comment to hear.
How can I not be the narcissist if I have nobody in my life? I don't have one friend.
Why do you think this is?
Why doesn't anyone? I've tried to make friends with people. How there must be something wrong with me. Doesn't the fact that I have no one in my life tell me there's something wrong with me?
I'm not sure what your entire life looks like, right? But it's kind of I get the sense of, have you ever seen Winnie the Pooh, the cartoon, the movie? Remember Eeyore? It's not necessarily that he did anything wrong. It wasn't Eeyore he wasn't a narcissist by any means, but he was just kind of I don't have any friends. I'm all alone. Nobody wants to hang out with me. And he was just portrayed as this real down person. So, you may not have this, you may not be a narcissist. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that I would say you're not.
I believe I'm on the autistic spectrum.
This could be. This could be, right? But here's what we look at when we look at narcissistic abuse, okay? If you are fighting people and cussing people out and trampling other people's esteem and purposefully trying to hurt people and use people, manipulate people, and you were calling me, telling me that that's what you're doing, then I would agree with you and say, yeah, you're on the narcissistic spectrum, sociopath, and, and we'd have that conversation. But that's not what you're saying. You're saying that you, one, are putting up with these kinds of ridiculous comments from an uncaring husband or partner in your life. And in addition to that, you also already struggle with keeping friends, right? So it almost sounds to me like you have a very down esteem, or not esteem. I don't like to use the word esteem, but self-image of yourself, right? You have a hard time loving yourself first and foremost, right? And I'm sure this has a lot to do with how maybe from your childhood, were you, okay, right? And that's typically what happens. A lot of neglect as a child or a lot of abuse as a child can really make you feel like you are unwanted in the world in general. And it's a very hard thing to live with. And so this is not, I want to tell you right now that you don't sound like a narcissist at all. You're not an abusive person.
It's nobody wants you, then how can you feel wanted?
This is a good question because it has to come from you. You have to first want yourself, love yourself. And then when you go out, you don't look at the world as whether or not they want you or not. You just go and do. Right? There's a coach online, and one of the phrases that he used is, we have to learn how to live independently of the good and bad views of other people. Right? So you start to go out into the world, you get involved in groups, you go to church meetings, you do this, you do that, you go to women's book club reading meetings, whatever it is that you feel like you would love to do in this life, and you just do it. You just go, and you start to just be independent of the good and bad thoughts of other people, because people are going to have their views of you. Some people are going to love you. Some people, you're going to come across narcissists who are going to attack you and try and tear you down, and you learn to stay away from those people. But one thing that's not helping you is the fact that your only relationship right now is that of your husband, who is just tearing you down, right? That can't be good. That's not building your case. That's not fighting for your cause. That's not going to lift you up. It's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to keep you stuck, right?
Right. He would always tell me these bad things, but then Bunny's cage was something I could finally point my fingers to. No,
right.
This is not much I'm asking for. You just lift the cage, please.
My suggestion to you, hun, is this. First of all, welcome to the Royal We. I'm glad that you're here, and hang out here, right, in this chat, because this is
Gamer Christina. I believe you've seen me before. I've watched your videos.
Gamer Christina.
Times.
Well, cool, because I know that there's people in the chat here who would love to chat with you and talk with you and communicate with you, and that's what this is about. So there's a community here, and this is one way in which you could just get involved, even though it's online and it's kind of impersonal. It can still be very encouraging and very uplifting, the relationships you can build just in a chat. So the fact that you're here is stepping out. That's a good thing, right? And so I would encourage you to do more of that, right? Your husband's going to do what he's going to do. Go out to tell your husband, I'm going to Barnes & Noble on Tuesday nights because there's a book club meeting and I want to get into reading books, right? Start finding, or go to the gym. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
My ex-husband. It's my ex-husband.
Your ex-husband.
We divorced 4 years ago, but now he just got remarried.
Okay, right.
Just 1 week ago, remarried.
So this is going to be a time for you to find yourself, to rediscover yourself. You've got to break away, stop focusing on what your ex-husband is doing. You should have no clue, right? It should be out of sight, out of mind. It shouldn't be any of your business anymore. This is a time for you to build your life, identify yourself and what you like and where you're going and what you're doing. And this is self-love, and this is being able to care for yourself, all right? So welcome here. Thank you. Stay here, right? Talk to people in the chat. And thank you for calling. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Right on. Have a great night. All right, guys, thank you for that phone call. It's a very difficult thing to experience, obviously, when your only relationship, especially when you come out of a marriage or any type of a intimate relationship, and you're not doing anything except just there, and you're dwelling on that, and you see other people moving on. Maybe you see the narcissist, because keep in mind, guys, what you're up against when you're with abusive narcissists is you're up against people who really don't care about you. That was super loud. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to make that happen. Hang on one second, caller. We got a caller from Ohio. I'm going to put you on hold just 1 second there while I finish this thought. It's important to understand that as hard as it is when you get out of these relationships, you have to move on. You have to do whatever it is to get involved. I know it's hard, but you've got to peel yourself out of bed is some way, right? You got to lift yourself up, carry yourself, and get involved somewhere, right? And in time, it will start to retrain your mind and get you out of the habit of just thinking about of the ex and what took place. All right, caller from Ohio, thank you for calling. You're live on the Royal We.
Hey, Kevin. This
Hi
is
there.
Sarah from Ohio.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm okay. So my story goes back. Ex and I just split up after 8 years. We have a 5-year-old daughter together. He has 2 sons by a previous relationship, and I have a son and a daughter from a previous relationship. So he's helped me for the last 8 years raise my son and my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
They are now 11 and or 12 and 17. So my story goes back to about a year ago. Well, July actually. I'm sorry. And he started drinking really heavily,
Mm-hmm.
and he got drunk. It was July 3rd because he had to work the next day, and he got real belligerent and got his gun out, and he loaded it. And when I asked him what he was going to do, he told me that he was going to assassinate me and my children. And I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. So he was walking around with the gun, and I just kept watching him to see what he was going to do. I didn't know what to say. And then he turned the gun around on himself, told me he was going to shoot himself. And I told him, I said, I can't believe that you're that selfish that you would do that to your children. And it was like a light bulb went off, and he decided to sit down and cry about it, and then eventually passed out. The next day he went to work. I didn't have a chance to talk to him about it. So the following day I told him, I will not have any alcohol in my house ever again. There will be no more drinking around me and my children. You put me in a very bad situation. I thought that it was that he had done that because of the alcohol.
Okay.
He agreed to not drink anymore, and it went well for a while until I had to go to work on an overtime day. He stayed home with the kids. I got a call at 2:30 in the morning from my 17-year-old son saying that my 12-year-old daughter had came into his room crying, saying that he had entered her room and had touched her inappropriately, and I needed to come home.
This story is getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know if I can stand to listen to one more act of cruelty and just downright sociopathic behavior from in regards to an individual that you are keeping around yourself and your kids. So let's skip forward to where you are right now with this.
Okay.
And what's the status of the relationship?
He ended up getting arrested that night because I called the police on my way home from work.
Okay.
He has not been back since. He has not tried to have any contact with his daughter. He's been in her life every single day since the day she was born.
Are you currently caring? Are you currently caring for that daughter?
Yes, all 3 of my children by myself. This has actually made me become homeless. I'm staying with my brother at the moment. My question, my ultimate question is, my 5-year-old is having a really, really hard time coping with her father. It's like he died. He's not around anymore. She can't
cope with him not being around. And she says things here and there, but I don't know how to answer her because she's not going to understand why he's not there. But at the same time, like, she has only but good memories of him from before, nothing really horribly bad or anything.
This isn't
So
the.
I'm just
This
at the
isn't.
point.
Is this the daughter that he had inappropriately made advances
No,
on, or the
no,
different daughter? Okay.
no. He did that to my oldest daughter from my previous relationship.
Oh, the one that was
Um,
not related to him. Okay.
our
Okay.
Right. My
Okay.
youngest daughter is ours together.
All right.
So, really, just my question is, how do I help her cope with um, basically the loss of her father, and how do I explain to her later on in life that why he's not there anymore, because he touched her sister inappropriately and threatened our lives. So, um,
You
it's
know,
just
right. It as far as the reason, right? The exact reason why he is away, I would just use caution because she may not understand that necessarily yet, depending on how old she is. But
right,
depending on how old she is, she can understand, and she can start to learn to understand that people can do things that are wrong, and they have to go away for a while, right?
right,
It doesn't mean that it's a permanent going away, right? But they have to go away for a while, right? It's going to be
right,
difficult. There's how it is going to be
right,
difficult because she is mourning the loss of her dad, just as you're mourning the
right,
loss of what you thought you had in a relationship in a marriage. She's mourning the loss of a dad, and she doesn't understand. She doesn't understand what
right,
took place. She doesn't know what took place, right? And so I would just
right,
caution you not to handle that very very delicately, and you may want to get some further advice or counseling involved with that too
yeah,
from professional counselors who can be able to help with that situation. I think that's probably the best advice that I can give in that, because it's a heartbreaking story, and
right,
I know that it happens all the time, right?
yeah,
And
unfortunately,
but for you, okay, I want to tell you that I believe that you did the right thing. You absolutely
yes,
100%
absolutely,
did the right thing. One of the things that we need to be able to do is take these people seriously. And too often we
right,
don't. We take the red flags, the getting drunk, the picking up
yes,
the gun, the pointing the gun at other people and at a self,
right,
and we tend
right,
to just dismiss it. You get fearful, you freeze up, and well, I hope to God that that was just a mistake and they're not going to do it again. But you never know. The next time,
right,
the next time it could be a whole lot different, and you end up on an episode of Crime Watch. You, the kids, the daughter, right,
right, I
and
know,
himself. Okay, so you did the right thing. So
yes,
I just want to help you to relieve any ideas that maybe you were too harsh. No, you did the right thing. Okay. So now it's just a matter, you did what a good mother would do, protecting kids, protecting yourself, right? And ultimately protecting him, getting him in a place
right,
where he can't drink, he can't hurt himself, he can't hurt anybody else. So you did the right thing by everybody. You really did. All
right,
right. And
right, thank
so
you,
but as far as delivering this and raising the girl for as long as you have to, where she's not going to be able to have a father figure, or at least her father as a
right,
father figure, you don't have to necessarily get into the details of it. That's just my personal, from my understanding experience. You don't have to get there yet. When she gets old enough and she's digging for answers, then at that
right,
time maybe you can go into specifics. But until she's digging for answers that she'll be able to grasp and understand, she just needs to know. She needs to know that it's going to be a while before she can see him, because he has to fix some things. He has to sort some things out, but I would advise you to
right.
get some professional counseling on that issue as well.
All right, thank you so much.
I hope that
And I
helps.
want to say you are doing a fantastic job. I watch your videos all of the time, and
Thank you.
I'm very happy that I found you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Stay strong.
All right.
All righty.
Have a good night.
All righty.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's a difficult one, and doing this, guys, and for you in the chat area as well, keep in mind when you talk to people and when you're communicating, you never know what somebody is going through, and a lot of times it can be just a horrible, nightmarish situation, and the aftermath of it, of dealing with a narcissist or a sociopath or somebody who has these deep-rooted issues, it can just leave waves of destruction and pain and confusion and not knowing what to do, right? So it's very difficult to get through this stuff. But I want to thank that caller. That was very bold, and of her to be able to call and talk about that and share that experience with all of us. That was, thank you. I thank you for that. And let's go ahead and take a call, or not a call, but let's read a message from a email, or from a text message, actually, that I received, because I do take questions. For those of you guys who, I know there's a lot of you on the chat, maybe right now you are uncomfortable with calling. You don't know if you want your voice on live yet. I get that. I understand being able to talk about abuse and your situation is difficult. So there are other methods that you can reach out. You can ask a question and have it answered. One of them is through email. You can email me at jointheroyalwe@gmail.com. And you can also text me at the same telephone number that is scrolling at the bottom of the live stream. I do receive texts. And so with that, I'll go ahead and read a text message that recently had. Well, maybe not. We'll go ahead and answer this phone call. Hi, you're live on the Royal We.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. How are you?
I'm calling from Chicago, but I just want to tell you how much you helped me. You have your PhD.
Do I have a PhD? Hello? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you ask me if I have a PhD? Was that your question?
I'm telling you, you do.
Oh, I do. Okay. Thank you. Good. So I don't have So I don't have to answer that question because you answered it for me.
No,
but I.
From what I have, from the strength that I've gotten from your YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
I can grant you that degree, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I do get asked that a lot. Do I have a degree? A professional psychologist? And I'm not a professional psychologist. And so one of the things that the Royal We is actually birthed from is the pain, the experience, and overcoming, right? And so it's not from books that I've gained this knowledge. It's from trial and error and pain and getting up and being destroyed and getting back up. And I believe there's a lot to that. And so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now you mentioned in your before you took calls, you said that to be a moderator, you have to understand the theology behind it. What did you mean by that?
The theology. Did I use that word here? Theology?
Yes, you did.
I did. Okay. So, basically, I know that there's a lot of teachers and people who are talking about narcissistic abuse online on YouTube. And it's just important to me that, and everybody has their own approach to it. Everybody has their theology of healing, their theology of what the experience was all about as far as the narcissistic abuse and recovering from it. And so I believe it's important that we have moderators on this channel because they act as the eyes and ears and help of whatever's going on in the chat. I think it's important that they at least understand and resonate with the Royal We. And so and here's an interesting thing, guys. I'll go ahead and say this is I don't even necessarily know exactly what that looks like, okay? Because I'm still fairly new at this, but what I do understand is when somebody resonates with what's going on and when they're able to articulate back to me kind of the things that I'm putting out there as well, I know that that's a match. I know that it resonates. I know that there's harmony there. And so I don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to be some outside off the wall method of whatever, you know what I mean, that I may not necessarily know about, you know what I mean? And so that's why it's important to have that understanding, which I believe is only going to come from watching videos. This is why I say it's important that moderators have kind of hung with the royal we for 3 or 4 months. So that way they've watched videos, they've followed the progress of these videos, and they kind of understand the heart behind what's going out, and it resonates. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, so the reason that I'm calling is just Monday I went to court against my malignant narcissistic husband.
Okay.
Who and I'm a registered nurse. I'm in, the total amount of empathy lies on my DNA.
Right. Well, you're a nurse. Yeah. Absolutely.
And from what I found out about him is that he has targeted in the past nurses and dated them. And anyway, so we went to court, and the judge kind of raked me over the coals. And I really wanted to set a boundary even with him, but because he sits next to God, I didn't. But he told me that I told him that, my husband and I got married after the order of protection.
You got married after an order of protection?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. If I was a judge and you had an order of protection and then got married, I probably would not. I'd probably have a hard time with you too, hon. Because it's kind of like that. It's the situation, and I get it. I get it in these relationships. It's so easy to be suckered and fooled and duped by their hoovering and by their crying and by the narcissist's ability to say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I really want you. I really need you." And all of a sudden, everything that they threw at you and all the words, it's still there. You still remember it, but there's something about the idea that you taught them a lesson and they've wisened up and they're going to be better this time around. There's something to that. There's something that feels empowering, and you're like, okay, I want to see this. And so you bring it on. Okay, yeah, come on in my life. And then sure enough, they wallop you upside the head with the fact that they're exactly the same. And you're back at square one again. And now you're going back to court because they threw things at you or hit you or, whatever. And the judge is saying, listen, lady, I already gave you an order of protection and you brought him back? What? Right?
Yeah. I felt like knee-high to a curb, but I still showed up.
Right.
And my defenses, and you probably know this, not really even a defense, but they all seem to follow the same manual, and the average abused woman goes back to her abuser an average of 7 times. And all of these narcissists don't know each other.
I know.
They all same.
And I hope these women are jumping on the royal we, because that's what we're going to stop. We're going to stop, because it's senseless to go back to the abuser. It's absolutely senseless, right? And I wanted to add something too. Was there something else that you wanted to add?
I just overall shining light on the court system and how these old time judges don't get. Okay, yeah. Even now, I feel like you kind of called me a dummy. and
no, that's
okay.
Not at all. That's not at all. No. That's not at all what I was.
No, Kevin, I own it. I told the judge, I said, I know this doesn't make me look particularly intelligent, Your Honor. And before I could get anything else, and he said, you're damn right. I go, but I own it.
Right. I believe that there's a phrase, and I know that in Christianity, this was tossed around too. Maybe you heard this. It's God doesn't help people that don't help themselves. And I don't necessarily, subscribe to that. Okay. But when it comes to people and courts and police officers, they absolutely have no choice but to live by that motto. We can't help people who don't help themselves. It's very difficult, right, for them to follow up with that. And so that's why, and I get these phone calls from people. In fact, just last night or the night before, was talking to somebody who said they've had to call the cops numerous times, and the cops came, and after a while, the cops like, listen, we're tired of being called out here, guys. Either split up or something, because it's just becoming a waste of everybody's time. And it is, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not that, like I said, it has nothing to do with being dumb or being stupid or any of these harsh words, right? That's not what it is. But we have to stop with the being naive. I will use naive, and I can say naive because I also was naive. Listen, hon, I did the same thing with the people who were abusive to me. I made an excuse and I justified staying in touch with them, being on social media with them, because I, in a way, was waiting to see, well, maybe they really made a mistake. Maybe they understand that if they want a good relationship with me and my family, that they're going to try harder or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I stayed involved. And sure enough, I was getting hit left and right again until I finally realized what standing up for myself looks like. And I'm going to tell you this too, and everybody listening. A lot of people think that when you stand up to a bully, when you stand up to the narcissist, a lot of people have this concept and this idea that means that you're going to forever change them and you're going to look like a big person and they're going to acknowledge your value and your worth and how good you are, and they're going to applaud you for standing up for yourself, and you're all going to go skipping off into the sunset together. That's not what standing up to bullying or narcissistic abuse means. What standing up for yourself means is you risk losing that relationship forever. Whether it's your dad, your mom, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, a spouse, brother, sister, best friend, teacher, coworker, you standing up for yourself means that you're stepping into this. I'm willing to lose this relationship forever, because that's chances are that's what's going to happen when you stand up for yourself. If you stand up to a bully, it's not so that you can hold hands and be friends right after. It's standing up so that the bully knows that they no longer can hurt you, because you're ready to end it, right? And they're going to go away and they're going to leave you alone. And that's the hope, that they leave you alone. And so the same thing is going to happen with narcissists, right? You stand up to them. You say, I'm not doing this anymore. You're done. They're going to leave you alone, because narcissists are bullies and they need that game. They need you to not stand up for yourself, right?
Okay, but if if the judges sit up there and get frustrated with me the first time he saw me, but has all of his career gone through domestic violence things where these people are going through the same thing over and over again,
right?
Why belittle the victim?
You know, I think that's right. I know. I think that's terrible. I think it's a case-by-case basis, right? And I know a lot of people call it victim shaming, this and that, and you know, it kind of wavers on that, because at some point you do have to accept responsibility. We all do, right? We have to accept we have to accept responsibility for how long we're staying in relationships. You know, after a while, we can no longer lean on the whole, you know, well, they love bombed me and fooled me. You know, if they fool you once, if they fool you once, shame on them. And when it comes to narcissists, if they fool you twice, okay, shame on them again. But if they fool you 3 times, right, and that's being lenient, because usually it's fool you once, shame on them. Fool you twice, shame on you. But we understand that. That narcissistic abuse, the nature of it, is so difficult to. It's such a complex ordeal that we almost have to give that extra one as a buffer. So when a narcissist fools you once, shame on them. If they fool you twice by apologizing and saying, I'm sorry, I'm going to work on things, and gives you the crocodile tears or love bombs you or hoovers you, and then they fool you again, shame on them again for lying and leading you to believe that they really are sorry, okay? So shame on them. So shame on them a second time. But now if it happens a third time, now we can get into the, okay, shame on you. Because now you're buying into it over and over and over again, right?
Right. But, you know, hearing everybody else's stories and where they are on their timeline of healing is just phenomenal to me. When I went to court on Monday and the judge the state's attorney said, I'll look around the room and tell me where your husband is. And when I looked over at him, the judge was looking down and he mouthed, I love you. And I ignored him. But what I want to say is that it's just not him. It's many, many layers from childhood that you have to somehow pick up those scabs and
Right.
release that gas,
Yeah.
okay, and try to figure out how the hell did I get here?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And this
Don't
goes into
think
the
people
this goes
realize-
into the this goes into the whole thing about standing up for yourself, right? Like I said, this is such an important thing, and I hope that you get it, and I hope that everybody in the chat gets this too. It's this concept of what it is to stand up for yourself. I believe that a lot of us wish that we could have stood up for ourselves, maybe with our parents, right? And what that would have looked like is our parents acknowledging us, saying, "Good for you for standing up for yourself," and still being there and still loving you, right? And but when we're dealing in the outside world, we're not dealing with our parents. Okay, we're not dealing with unconditional love in that way. So we have to understand that standing up for yourself means that you do it in such a way that you risk losing that relationship forever. And here's the deal: your safety is far more important than that relationship. Your mental, emotional well-being is so much more important than that lousy relationship. So you go into standing up for yourself, saying, "I'm not going to tolerate this," knowing full well that the relationship may end, and you want it to. You want it to end, right? It's not going to have this unconditional love thing where they applaud you for standing up for yourself and you become best friends. I know that sometimes there's movies that portray that, where a bully, where somebody fights the bully and then they become best friends afterwards, right? Life doesn't happen like that, right? It doesn't happen. If someone's coming after you, if a bully's coming after you, which narcissists are, they're bullies, right? If they're coming at you, you stand up for yourself. They know that they can no longer win you, which is all they want to do. They want to conquer you. They want to destroy you. They want to use you for your body, your money, whatever. The moment they know that they can't do that anymore because you stood up for yourself, it's over. They're gone. And so you have to know that and be happy about that decision, and then live that out, and know that you stood up for yourself. That's how you know. You want to know how you stood up for yourself and it worked. You want to know how how you finally know you're a tough person. And this is to everybody who is in the chat too. You know you're tough. You know you stood up for yourself when they no longer come around, when they've moved on, when they're out of your life. That's how you know you stood up for yourself.
I think we should start. I feel this in my bones that I should start the equivalent of a pedophile list for narcissistic abusers.
Well, if you know that many of them, then do it.
No, one's enough. One is enough.
So you have a list of one.
I have a list of one.
All right.
Move on from me. He won't find me again.
There you go. Right on. Well, listen, thank you. I appreciate your phone call.
I appreciate you too. Namaste, Kevin.
All righty. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was an excellent phone call, guys, and I'm so excited with the phone calls tonight. Very powerful topics that we're talking about, and I'm very thankful for you guys for the boldness and the courage that you have to make that phone call to talk about these issues that you're dealing with, and for helping others. Not just yourself, but helping others to gain strength in the situation. And with that, guys, I'm going to make that the last phone call and go ahead and wrap up this live stream of the Royal We. You guys are welcome to hang out and chat in the chat room as long as you need to. And we'll be back tomorrow night. So if you did not get on the phone tonight, or if the phone line was busy, call tomorrow night, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. That's when we'll start. For those of you who are interested in taking the Royal We course, you can find out more information about the Royal We course in the description box below the video on YouTube. Just simply open up the description box, click that link. You'll see a course link there. Click that link and you can find out all about the Royal We course. And I encourage you to take the Royal We course. If it's full of good information, and one of the things that it's going to do is help you to understand and accept the world that you live in. But two, it's also going to help you really understand the heart behind the Royal We. Okay. And so I encourage you to check that course out. And all right, guys, and that's it. I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening, guys. And we will see you tomorrow night right here at 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for joining me tonight on the Royal We Live. Good night, everybody.